Welcome, gentle listener, I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and units of the Warhammer universe, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace. There is only time for war. And firstly, an incredibly brief ad for something you may well be interested in. 59 seconds, let's do it. Thank you, World of Tanks, for sponsoring this video. World of Tanks. An action-packed online game of armoured antagonism, with access to all of the weights and classes, from destroyers and artillery all the way to heavy tanks. It's a high-octane adventure that you can jump right into for instant carnage, or spend days on end pummeling and smashing your foes. So download it now. During registration, use the code COMBAT to get for free 7 days premium access, 250k credits, a Cromwell B Tier 6 British Premium Medium Tank, 3 rental tanks for 10 battles each, the Tiger 131 German Heavy Tank, the T-78 American Tank Destroyer, and the Type 64 Chinese Premium Light Tank. The promo code is only for new players during registration, so hit the links in the description. World of Tanks. Thank you for your patience, as this will permit me to purchase a Leviathan box or two for 10th edition. Even a ball needs new plastic every now and again. Keeps the interest up and the creative juices flowing. Now, onto the lore. And today, we shall be discussing some rare beasties of war that are soon to be a thing of the past. They are going out of print, out of production, and their rules out into the wastelands, the wilderness of legends. So, join me, gentle listener, and let us hear what has been lost. Let us delve into the Machina Daemonica. And so, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, the Machina Daemonica, being an essaying of the manifold forms, classes, and incarnations of the demon, as it appears before us bound into the shell of metal. God Emperor, forgive us this sin of knowledge. Compiled and committed by the hand of Inquisitor Very Wroth, for the attention and due consideration of the inner tier of the assembled lords of the Conclave of Kratos. The following archival entry summarizes what I've been able to glean regarding the phenomenon known to us as the Machina Daemonica, or in the vernacular of certain diabolists, the demon engine. Years of service to the Ordo Malleus, associated with various cabals, the wisdom of my peers, and the infiltration of the outer tiers of our Phaenonite adversaries have shown me many horrors, yet explained so little of what we face. Of one fact I am certain, however. There are those of our kin who would call forth the unnameable denizens of the immaterium into the mortal realm for a myriad of ideas that no sane being could countenance. Many of these utilize the tides of the beyond to invest machines of their creation with potency and power otherwise beyond their artifice, by way of rights entirely beyond the grace of the Emperor. Beyond even these are those machines that seem to have no physical existence at all, but are manifested whole in our realm. Accounts of demonic engines of war in the ranks of the forces of the great enemy have circulated since the very earliest days of the Great Betrayal. At first, the reports were invariably dismissed as supposition and fearful rumour, while others were simply thought to be misreported sightings of the rarer and at times quite outlandish machines developed by the Mechanicum on both sides of the conflict. As time progressed, however, and reports filtered in both from the ceaseless conflicts deep within the Eye of Terror and of after-action accounts from the ravages of Chaos Raiders, it became apparent that the malign influence of the warp was slowly working in corrupting influence on machines as well as flesh. Thankfully rare, but encountered in sinister variety, demon engines, as they became known, are not mass-produced war machines, but rather the product of the diabolic invention of a few twisted dark magi. Originally, the dark magi jealously guarded the secrets of their works, creating individual examples of the warping touch of chaos. Now, however, patterns emerge. Familiar forms and motifs amidst the anarchy, blood and blasphemy. The Defiler and the Mauler Fiend have been encountered in dozens of war zones, and I myself have witnessed the manifestation of the so-called Blood Slaughterer on 3 separate occasions. Few of our order can avoid the realization that, just as the forge worlds of the Adeptus Mechanicus provide distinct patterns of war machines, weapons and material to the armies of the Imperium, so now do the so-called Hell Forges of the Dark Mechanicus render their dark engines of war to the remnants of the traitor legions, renegades, Astartes, and the numerous hosts of the lost and the damned. Some within our order claim to be able to distinguish between a defiler wrought by the hands of the Dark Magi of the Hell Forge of Sarum, for example, while others claim familiarity with the myriad and blasphemous artifacts of the heretics of Junkata. I admit my doubt in these matters, for the fallen Magi brook no limits to their creations, and it seems unlikely to me that they would constrain their fell work into anything we ourselves would recognize as a pattern. I recommend a level Thanatos 12 Purity Sweep, lest the taint of the ruinous powers has already touched our tech savants and warpseers, as it has so many of the Feanonites. The Infernal Engine. At the lowest tier of the classification of the Demon Engine, I rank the Infernal Engine. A machine such as a Predator or a Land Raider, which has served the ruinous powers for so long that its machine core is corrupted and twisted into something quite apart from what we might call a machine spirit. It is sometimes able to exert some degree of power over the machine's own systems, occasionally in contraction to the intentions of its crew, who may be more or less aware of the fell nature of the machine they operate. Many of these engines have names by which they are known, by us and their own allies, names attached to numerous fell deeds over the millennia, and which instill fear and loathing in all loyal servants of the God Emperor. In particular, many chapters of the Adeptus Astartes are known to record the names of such engines with great diligence, entering them in their great tomes of chapter grievances. Upon encountering such an engine, the Astartes are wont to seek its death with great prejudice, exacting punishment for numerous past crimes. On at least 3 occasions, having witnessed such actions, in particular when serving alongside those most noble of the first founding chapters, I have reached the regrettable conclusion that the war machine thus targeted was once a loyal engine of the chapter itself, having been turned or otherwise captured and bent to the will of the traitor foe. These and 1,000 other crimes have I witnessed in the service of our order. The Possessed Engine. Long has it been known that certain long-standing classes of engines of war in the service of the fallen Astartes have had their hulls sealed and warded with blasphemous rituals, a denizen of the immaterium summoned forth and bound within the otherwise inert metal shell. In battle, these possessed engines are invested with a supremely bellicosa anima, and are immune to many of the injuries that would cripple them were they still crewed by beings of flesh and blood. The creation of these machines comes at a high price. Firstly, the heretic magi who creates them must fuel their rites with the blood and souls of innocents, and may demand other services in addition to the numerous slaves and ritual victims whose souls are shed to summon forth the demon into the vehicle's warded shell. The second price is in the lives of other servants of the ruinous powers, for the vehicles at once allow a bound demon to make war upon the mortal realm, but also serve as its prison. enraged, having slaughtered the foes of its masters. Many a possessed engine has turned its guns upon its supposed allies. Lastly, I have read accounts of possessed engines of war, such as Land Raider assault tanks or Storm Eagle assault gunships, literally consuming those who would ride within their armoured hold, as if exacting a terrible price for its service in battle. The Demon Engine. Far rarer than the previous two classifications, but encountered in fearfully increasing numbers in recent years, are what our order has long referred to as true demon engines. These constructs are wrought by the hand and fell genius of Dark Magus, specifically to house a bound demon, there being no conventional version within the canon of machine lore. This rank includes, so far as I can ascertain, such blasphemies as the Defiler, Decimator, Blood Slaughterer, Forge Fiend, Mauler Fiend, and Helldrake. With my own eyes, I have witnessed that the metal of some of these avatars of blasphemy seem to pulse and distort into some manner of demon flesh, the thing within asserting its form over the metal that binds it into the universe of matter. The manifest or incarnate demon engine. This last rank is, Emperor be praised, the rarest and, it appears, the most difficult to summon and bind. It represents those engines that are in essence mechanical demons, summoned into being whole or else shaped from the stuff of the warp by the most skilled of warpsmiths, and as such are the apex of their class. It is my belief that what I codify as incarnate demon engines are not vehicles possessed by demons, they are demons. Their tier includes the Great Brass Scorpion, the Soul Grinder, and the Lord of Battles. The stuff of which these machines are wrought shifts between metal and demon flesh, being neither and both at once. They must surely be animated by the barely contained power of the warp itself, for when they are destroyed in battle, a feat requiring the utmost faith, purity, skill, and sacrifice, they are inevitably consumed by the unreal energies of the Immaterium, leaving nothing behind them but the death and destruction wrought by their hand. The class may also include those engines that appear to be debased mockeries of our own glorious and noble knights, the Hell Knight, Quaestor, Subjugator, Hell Scourge, and Hell Strider. My studies on this matter remain inconclusive and incomplete, and my agents have made contact with our allies, the Relictors, so that the matter may be addressed more thoroughly. And now I shall name the beasts. The Greater Brass Scorpion of Khorne. Towering monster of armoured plating and hellish metal flesh, powered by burning souls and bearing an arsenal of murderous weapons. A brass scorpion is an animate altar to Khorne, chaos god of bloodshed and battle. They are devastating, half-crazed entities, more rampaging beasts than war machine, and they take evident delight in the slaughter of the enemy, tossing aside wrecked vehicles in their path and skewering the bodies of the slain beneath their hydraulic claws. They are especially feared for their evident predilection with which they use their huge claws to winkle enemy troops out of cover, plucking screaming victims from trenches and bastions before tearing them apart in a welter of blood. The Great Brass Scorpion carries a fearsome array of weaponry, all of it powered not by any technology known to or understood by the servants of the Omnissiah, but by the infernal energies of the warp. Mounted upon its articulated tail is a rapid-firing, multi-barreled cannon able to unleash a storm of death at a cyclic rate far in excess of any weapon system in the arsenals of the Imperium. Mounted to the machine's fore is a wide-mouthed gun that fires heavy shells, the explosive effect of which is able to tear apart enemy positions and blast defending troops to atoms. Most fearsome of all are the Greater Brass Scorpion's twin Hellmore cannon, which unleash a torrent of red-hot molten brass, summoned forth from the demon foundries of Khorne. To stand before such a weapon is to face the infernal fires of the realm of chaos, the soul as well as the body seared to ashes by a molten blast of damnation. The metal body of the greater brass scorpion is a twisted mass of flexing cables that resemble and move like whipcord musculature, and amongst which can be seen tormented souls given physical form at the moment of the machine's manifestation. The bulk of this writhing metal and flesh is protected by inches-thick, segmented armor plates, more alike in appearance to an insect's interlocking chitin than the armored panels of a tank. First encountered in substantial numbers in Chaos assaults during the later Black Crusades, there now seems to be several variants of the brass scorpion. Earlier machines, for the main, display close similarities in form to the Defiler, while later variants possess outlandish and distinctive shapes, and in some cases, greater increased size, rivaling even a Scout-class Titan. Whether this development indicates some deliberate progression in the work of the Dark Magi, or simply the tendency of Chaos to twist and change of its own accord, remains unknown. Demon engines closely matching descriptions of the greater brass scorpion appear in the sealed archives of the Ordo Malleus, recounting certain events in the First War of Armageddon. This cataclysmic invasion of the strategically vital Imperial Hive world saw the demon primarch of the traitor world eaters, Angron, take to the field of slaughter, and untold thousands fell to his blade. Amidst multitudes of berserkers, demons, and mortal blood cultists, there marched a myriad of different demon engines, a number of which are described by the Ordo Malleus savants as infernal beasts of segmented form, manifold claws whose maws spew forth the molten stuff of the beyond. These engines are further described as climbing the sheer surfaces of the cliff-like fortified hive walls and tearing the defenders from their positions. Deeds the greater brass scorpion has been known to repeat on numerous occasions in wars the length and breadth of the Imperium. It was only by the ultimate sacrifice of almost an entire Grey Knight strike force that the fall of Armageddon was averted, and further accounts of their battles against the demon Primarch and his infernal allies are sealed by order of the very highest authorities. The means by which a greater brass scorpion is brought into being is the subject of much conjecture amongst those within the Ordo Malleus with knowledge of such dread matters. One theory is that each greater brass scorpion represents the culmination of the life's work of entire cabals of Dark Magi, who painstakingly construct each war machine before expending their mortal lives in the dreadful ceremony in which a demon of the warp is summoned forth to be bound within its ornate armored form. Another school of thought posits that the greater brass scorpion is unlike other demon engines in that it is not constructed in the material realm and invested with and animated by a captured demon. Rather, the greater brass scorpion is of itself a demon summoned from the immaterium, and is given its terrifying mechanical form by the dark rituals enacted to bring it into being. It may well be that both of these theories are true, or at least contain elements of the truth. Or it may be that some other means entirely is used by the damned heretics of the Dark Mechanicus. The Blood Slaughterer of Khorne. The Blood Slaughterer is a massive gore-splattered demon engine of glittering brass and black iron, a possessed war machine forged and bound for the specific purpose of wreaking carnage on their enemy, rending and killing in indiscriminate fury as an act of profane worship to Khorne, the blood god of chaos. Such is the unholy rage of the savage demonic entities that empower them. Their barbed shells must lie empty and dormant between battles, only to be brought into unholy life by murder-filled sacrificial rituals on the eve of battle. Unleashed on the front lines to sow havoc, blood slaughterers themselves do not care who or what they kill. just as bodies are torn asunder for corn. Though blood slaughterers have been encountered upon battlefields the length and breadth of the Imperium and beyond, they have long since been associated with the legend of the Killing Star. When the Killing Star appears in the night, it is not long before bloody red contrails slash across the skies, and soon the horizon burns with distant fires. When the hosts of the Killing Star descend upon a world to shed blood in honor of the ruinous powers, they are often presaged by a wave of blood slaughterers, their serrated blade arms gleaming in anticipation of the lies soon to be claimed. Most blood slaughterers observed in battle have been equipped with a matched pair of wickedly sharp serrated blade claws. A few, however, have been equipped with a weapon codified as the Impaler, a harpoon-like projectile tethered to the blood slaughterer by the way of a heavy, brazen chain. The spear is generally used against large enemies, for there are many foes that will be slain outright when it hits. With the Impaler's barbed point lodged in the flesh of its prey, the blood slaughterer drags the enemy towards it with a horrible inexorability. Once within range, the killing begins in earnest, the blood slaughterer tearing its victims apart in a storm of gore and anointing the ground to the glory of corn. Blood slaughterers are a similar mass and class to dreadnoughts, animated not by a living warrior, but by the essence of a demon of corn. Such entities are the predators of the warp, hunting down and rending asunder lost souls cast upon the tides of the immaterium. Once summoned or incarnated into the metallic form of the blood slaughterer, these fell beings find themselves occupying a new plane of existence entirely. They become hunters not of formless souls, but of the bodies in which such souls temporarily reside. With each kill, another soul is cast screaming into the immaterium, there to be consumed for all eternity by the ruinous powers in whose name the killing was done. With each soul laid before the blood god's throne of skulls, Khorne grows stronger still, his ascendance in the realm of chaos assured. It is surmised by the savants of the Ordo Malleus the blood slaughterers are constructed, or otherwise called into being, by the artifice of the dark magi of the Hellforge of Sarum, the source of the legend of the Killing Star. They bear a clear resemblance to the greater brass scorpions of Khorne, yet inquisitors and savants know not to rely on mere appearances when attempting to comprehend anything about the workings of chaos. Brass scorpions are almost certainly higher-order demons of Khorne given physical, albeit mechanical, form by the rituals of the Dark Magi. Blood slaughterers, however, appear to be machines constructed for the purpose of binding a demon inside their shell. Unlike the brass scorpion, the blood of the blood slaughterer has also been observed to mount a containment vessel thought to hide the bound essence of a demon of the warp. Chaos Decimators. Decimators are infernal engines of death, thought by the Inquisition savants to be horrific amalgams of human and Xenos technology, fused and brought to unholy life by the darkest warp sorcery. Recorded in the forces of the great enemy as long ago as the mass genocides known in Imperial lore as the Grief of Herodin in late Millennium 35. They have fortunately been rarely encountered, save within the damned cults and demon fleets that plague the benighted reaches of the Nightmare Rifts, far to the galactic south of the Segmentum Tempestus. Here in the dark void beyond the borders of the Imperium, some unknown source, it is believed, barters these dread killing machines for a high price in blood, plunder, and souls. During the battle for the Perrin Cross, a massive alien space station that had been seized by the renegade Night Reapers Space Marine chapter, several of these daemonic behemoths were encountered by the Minotaurs and Grey Knight forces who engaged the renegade chapter. How the Night Reapers acquired so many of these arcane examples of corrupted techno-sorcery is unknown, but they are known to have operated largely within the Lanar Rifts, a benighted area of space that hides many secrets. The various rumours and scraps of information surrounding the creation of new decimators has led some within the Ordo Malleus to label them the work of the infamous Dark Magi of the Septral cult, which legend has it was driven to the rifts beyond the Silent Stars during the Scouring, while others insist that the cult never existed at all, except in the febrile myths of the Forgotten Age. An unholy fusion of demon and machine, decimators are all but impossible to completely destroy, often reforming from seemingly catastrophic damage after the enemy has passed it by, believing it destroyed. As living weapons that have in many cases existed for long millennia, they serve no master but destruction. Some are carried from battle to battle as siege engines amongst the war bands of the most powerful Chaos Space Marine warlords, while others simply appear upon the bloodiest of battlefields, summoned forth from the ephemeral depths of the warp to burn and slay. The Decimator has been observed armed with a number of different weapons, the most often encountered of which have been codified as the Siege Claw, the Butcher Cannon, the Storm Laser, and the Soul Burn Petard. In addition to these otherwise unknown weapons, the Decimator has also been witnessed equipped with a heavy conversion beamer, a rare weapon of ancient vintage, almost never encountered in the hands of Chaos Space Marine forces. The most commonly observed of these weapons is the Siege Claw, often carried in pairs. It is a wickedly sharp-bladed melee weapon, incorporating an unknown form of flamer. It was claimed long ago by several noted savants in the service of the Ordo Xenos that the Decimator's Siege Claw bears similarities to certain blades used by the Serrator assassins of the Xenos Galthite. This has led some inquisitors to surmise that the Dark Magi of the Septral cult, if indeed this dread fellowship is responsible for the Decimator, has gained access to a range of Xenos technologies, and is using long-forbidden hybridization rights to create weapons that have no right to exist in a sane universe. Investigators into this possibility have discovered that the Decimator Storm Laser shares characteristics with the crystalline projectors of the Xenos Dracolith, a theory based entirely on post-battle augury analysis. The Decimator's Soul Burner Petard is thought to employ energy containment technology similar to that found in the alien armies of the Ulameethic League, though this heretical idea is considered all but impossible to prove. Though many theories as to the provenance of these weapons exist, none have been conclusively realized, for no Decimator is known to have been recovered intact from any battlefield. Few Decimators are known to have been disabled or destroyed in battle, for they appear to be possessed of a fearsome and baleful vigour that drives the war machines ever forwards even after sustaining damage that would wreck any other vehicle of its mass. Such is the techno-heresy of the mysterious creators of the Decimator, that they are able to combine debased machine rights with diabolic and alien technologies to create a war engine that has spelled the doom of countless loyal servants of the Emperor. On the binding of the demon within the shell of the machine. Those few savants of machine lore to have survived a close examination of any form of demonic engine have noted that many feature some manner of containment vessel, often warded and chained tightly shut, and invariably aglow with the fell powers of the warp. The exact nature and purpose of this device remains largely a mystery, but several observations have been noted. Firstly, the vessel is only present on war machines constructed in the realm of mortals. It has yet to be observed in engines wrought in and summoned forth from the warp. It has been observed, for example, on blood slaughterers, for these are held to be made by mortal hand, but not on brass scorpions, which are held to be summoned from the abyss. Secondly, this vessel bears a disturbing resemblance to the cortex and reactor chambers utilized long ago by various machine constructs of the cult Mechanicus, constructs almost entirely consigned to history, as the mysteries of their construction and maintenance have been lost. Several tech savants and demonologists serving the Ordo Melius now suspect that these vessels are used to draw forth and perhaps contain the infernal spirit within the demon engine. Indeed, breaching the vessel has been observed to bring about the demon's escape and the catastrophic destruction of the engine itself. Though such an endeavor will secure the fall of the demon engine, the escaping spirit is wont to reap utter devastation, as it is driven back from whence it came by the cold inexorability of real space, making even its successful banishment a dangerous prospect indeed. Plague Hulks of NURGLE. Bloated, multi-limbed walkers similar in form to the Defiler and the Soul Grinder. Plague Hulks appear to be a direct hybrid of machine and a corpulent demon thing of NURGLE, Chaos God of disease and decay. Ungainly and sickening to look upon, Plague Hulks lumber into battle upon corroded metal limbs, their engines giving off clouds of reeking vapours and pestilent fog, poisoning the very ground they walk over. The Plague Hulk's mechanical chassis supports a seething, maggot-ridden mass of putrescent demon flesh, at the centre of which sits a gaping maw capable of vomiting forth a tide of unspeakable foulness that can rot flesh and corrode metal. One of its arms is fused with an arcane cannon that belches out shells so impregnated with ichor and infection that a mere scratch from their bone-casing fragments will immediately and agonizingly fester into a crippling injury. Like many other demon engines, these decaying monsters also possess massively powerful limbs able to smash through the strongest armor with ease, and they are often encountered wielding gigantic cleaver blades or huge rusted flails. Worse yet, for anyone bold or foolhardy enough to stand against a Plague Hulk in battle, they must first endure clouds of flesh-searing poison before attacking the bloated machine thing itself. Historical savants in the service of the Ordo Melius are unclear as to when and where Plague Hulks were first encountered, for the archives contain numerous accounts of demonic engine things that broadly match their description. The earliest likely sighting of a Plague Hulk was during the 4th Anancus Gamma counterstrike, when a demi company of the Red Hunters chapter, under the mandate of Inquisitor Lord Skane, was assailed by a wave of demonic servants of NURGLE, including a number of demon engines that Skane later reported as being hybrid of machine and demon, carrying weapons capable of unleashing torrents of warp-spawned filth and decay. The Inquisitor made it a lifetime's work to ascertain the true nature of these horrors, seeking them out with increasingly maniacal fervour whenever the warp encroached upon the material realm. Skane and an indented Red Hunters task force vanished into Caradriad Warp Fault in late 693 Millennium 39, whilst pursuing a mission, and it is assumed the Inquisitor Lord was slain in the course of this Emperor-given duty. Following the disappearance of Inquisitor Skane, several allied peers and throne agents have continued this work, and it is from their studies and reports that most of what is known of the Plague Hulks is derived. It has been determined that Plague Hulks are summoned forth from the depths of the warp rather than being constructed, and as such, they may represent some incarnation of the Soul Grinder specific to demons aligned to the ruinous power known as NURGLE. This is largely conjecture, however, for few witnesses have survived a full-scale manifestation, and even those few Plague Hulks that have been destroyed have not left behind any wreckage that could be recovered or studied. It is believed that Plague Hulks are summoned or called upon by a specific ritual incantation known only to the most blessed of NURGLE sorcerers and magi, and which is instant death to any who have not mastered the inner mysteries of the lore of decay. As the 41st millennium draws to a close, however, Plague Hulks are being encountered in ever greater numbers. From the cratered wastes of Vrax to the planet-spanning defense lines of Cadia, wherever the decaying hosts of NURGLE take to the field of battle, there too are to be found the lumbering Plague Hulks, the ground itself putrefying as they unleash the foul gifts of their master upon the material realm. End quote. Ah, shame. As finally I am beginning to enjoy enough revenue to even consider looking on the Forge World site. Thank you, brothers and sisters. And now they begin to remove all of these juicy things. Ha! Curses. The bald is half a decade too late, as usual. All I can say is, if you do own these glorious models, then keep using them. Proxy them if you need. Play Horus Heresy if you wish. But either way, keep them in your army. For these are glorious things, and I am very, very jealous indeed. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. Now subscribe and like and all that stuff if you enjoyed the video. Thank you, World of Tanks, for sponsoring this video. So hit the links in the description. World of Tanks. And join me every Friday as I take dives into the Warhammer universe. Or check out our other channels on natural history and mythology. Links in the description. Patron, merch, notification button, you know the boogaloo. Until then, thank you for your precious time. And no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.